Welcome in, everybody. Hello, my name is Steve, or KonkyTalks. We are today joined by a very awesome content creator. Her name is Bella, otherwise known as YellowSpoonGirl. We're going to be talking quite a bit about content creation, a plethora of other things. So please give it your hands together, give a little claps in chat for Bella. Welcome in.
Hello. It is I.
Hello. So thank you first of all for doing this with me. I'm always like hesitant to reach out to people that I'd like to have on the show and have a conversation with. So thank you for spending the time first of all with the pre-show conversation and also like willing to do this live. I know what it's like to be in territory that's like uncomfortable, especially like when you go from your own stream to like somebody else's, and now the controls, like you don't have any of them, so that's weird. But I'm sure a lot of people in here know you, but would you mind doing like a little brief introduction with like who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Bella. I am a streamer. I stream on the same website, and I like to just talk for a very long time. A lot of people describe my stream as like a stream of consciousness, which I'd say is pretty accurate. I just kind of exist amongst everybody and try to make it fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I would definitely describe it as that as well. And I guess like that leads us into like the first part of the conversation, because like this is a practice thing. Like, how long have you been streaming and doing your thing?
Like 3.5 years, I think. So it's been a while. I'm getting up there. So I feel pretty experienced.
Like an aged content creator, like getting up there.
Yeah, getting up there, you know.
So I guess like the stream of consciousness thing, I've always been curious, like how did you like identify that as like the thing that you like to do, and how did you embrace it so easily? I feel like, I don't know, that seems like a barrier for a lot of people, is just like the whole talking and going on tangents and sort of like not entertaining themselves, but like you're able to really just, I don't know, somebody says something in chat and you can kind of go off for like 3-4 minutes on that, and then you end up on an entirely different topic that's super interesting, based on like your own experience. Like, how did you do that? Was it just like practice, or like how would you describe it, I guess?
Very good questions. I feel like I never knew what the fuck I was doing. You know, I was on Twitch by mistake. I just wanted to talk to strangers online, and I already have this like voice. You know, some people, they see words when they talk and some people don't, you know, like, does your mind imagine the words? I'm just words constantly. And I used to just play video games. Like, for the first year of streaming, I just played video games, and I realized that people weren't there for the games, you know, they were there for me. And I remember hearing about mobile streaming, and I was like, oh, I want to try that out. So I just bought a stream phone that could stream. And I was like, well, I have nowhere to go. Let me just sit in my room. And so I just got comfortable and just started talking. Everybody thought I was insane, but I realized, and my mind works very strange. Like, the way that I get by things is very not traditional. Like, in my mind, the idea of humans inside of a box, like when I stream like this, I'm imagining that all my viewers are in my phone, and it makes it so much less pressure. And so I'm like there's a different energy with nostril streams. Like, people don't realize, some people do, but there's a different energy. But like, I feel safer, you know, because it's like you're all in my phone. When I'm streaming at a computer, it's like all these lights, the monitors, everything. It's like, you know, it's like so much. It's more like a performance, I feel like. Whereas nostril, it's like, I'm taking you guys backstage, you know, here's my kitchen, here's my bed, like, this is where I sit, whatever. And I don't know, I just rolled with it. And I do a lot of weird, like, imagination things to make myself feel comfortable. And I try to find weird parts of my mind, because I think a thing is, people lose that when you're a kid, you know, you want to play pretend. Your dad takes home a really huge ass box and you live in it as a clubhouse for like a week or two till it gets gross, you know? I never want to lose that, you know? So sometimes I start streams and I make a weird rule for myself. Like something a lot of my viewers know is when I stream at my desk, I pretend that I am in an igloo that has technology in it, and that I'm communicating with aliens that just learned English. So like, I imagine my viewers are the aliens, and they're talking to me, and I'm like, how would I talk to aliens? And I just give myself very bizarre scenarios before I stream, and so nothing can bother me. And even when like I get trolls or people that are really mean to me, I just think, oh, that's just a really weird alien. He's having a rough day. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there, and I just roll with it.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think everybody has that in their brain. They just don't access it because they're afraid to or something. You know, I don't give a fuck about anything or how crazy I sound or whatever. You know, bizarre people are usually pretty interesting, but yeah, I have these weird things I do.
No, it's not necessarily weird. Like, I think that's what you're talking about is essentially like a practice thing. Because when you're younger, right, you're easily like tapping in to these like neural pathways of behaving and you know, really looking at things in an interesting way. And as you grow up, you are judged or like, you know, told not to do certain things because it's weird. But like really what it ends up doing is, well, I guess like the way I explain it is like a river, right? So the river starts like flowing in the normal direction, and you have a hard, it's not like you can't access that weird shit. That's how I saw the gorilla, right? It's not like, it's not like you can't access it again. You just need like to practice it, and then eventually like the water starts to groove its way back, and then maybe you can like fully get it in. But that's really super cool that you're able to do that. Was that like something that you were able to practice like freely growing up, or was this something that you sort of, I don't know, did you have like the right friend group? Did you have like a really close circle of friends that like enabled this, that allowed you to just sort of be this person that you've, you know, been able to show us?
What's crazy is I never fit in anywhere. I was very relentlessly bullied. I was very dorky. I was into Yu-Gi-Oh! I was into math. I was just weird. I was obsessed with numbers. I was obsessed with memorizing pi. You know, I did all these weird things. And I just remember people not liking me unless I said, like, I remember there was like the popular girls that were like hot and pretty or whatever. Sure, and I was a dweeb. And I was like, how do I fit in with this group of people? Because I want people to like me. You know, everybody wants to be liked. And I realized that if you say something funny, you're like accepted in that group. Like, I remember a popular girl telling me like, you're okay, Bella, you say weird shit, you could sit with my friends, you know, as if she was giving me permission because clearly I wasn't pretty enough or whatever. And just finding myself, I would have anxiety about talking to people or whatever, and I've always been extremely imaginative, so I would tell myself, oh, you know, I'm a spy today, or I'm a this today, or I'm a this today, and I always just did that to get by. Or if I would have a crush on somebody, even in high school or college, I would think, okay, today you're gonna pretend that you are like a confident, you're like Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada, you're like about it. And so I just be this character to just build up my confidence, or I don't know, I'm just always playing pretend. You know, it's like when you're a kid, you have no problem playing pretend. You don't think about it because you're just doing it. You're like, oh, I'm playing mom and dad or house or whatever, or ninjas or whatever the fuck you do. But when you get older, it's like, oh, that's cringy. Oh, that's embarrassing. I don't want to be not cool. I don't want to make my friends think I'm a loser. So you lose that part of yourself. And you get straight stage fright, and you get all these fears. And I just always played pretend to get through situations, family events, church, anything I didn't like. I was like, okay, well, at church, I'm just going to pretend that like I am like a nun and I love it here. You know, I just always feel like playing pretend is very important.
No, that makes sense. It's yeah, I feel like that was like a huge part of high school in general for a lot of people. There was just sort of like this want to fit in, so you would put on a mask or try your best to like relate to other people by acting similarly or dressing similarly, and some of that like carries into adulthood, or a lot of that does. So then you sort of have this like facade of who you think you are, and you're really like cutting off the true potential or like personality that you you know, are acquainted with, your true self. It's super interesting. So that like, so all of that resulted in you being able to like flex your mind so to speak, into these scenarios that make you feel comfortable in social settings, and that transitioned into like a streaming thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I remember streaming, and like the first viewers I had, literally like the first person that ever typed in my chat was like, "You are insane. You should keep doing this." And I was like, "Okay." Like I never thought that my brain was cool. I've just existed. I was working at restaurants and bars, and I was a teacher. I was doing all this stuff, and I always felt like a behind the camera person too, because I wanted to be a screenwriter. I wanted to, and I mean, I still do want to do those things. I wanted to write for like a adult comedy cartoon show. I wanted to be a writer, and I never saw myself in front of the camera because, again, I was bullied forever. I was always like, I'm good at being in the background. So being on stream, I still have days where it feels weird. I don't like the idea of people thinking I am somewhere, because we do that. We're like, oh my God, this person's so popular, or this person's so cool, or this. We are all the fucking same. Like I walk to the gas station in my slippers like everybody else. I don't like this idea. Like I'm a streamer. A viewer might be like a teacher, a firefighter, whatever. We are the exact same thing, and I always want to remind people that we're just all on the same level. So I love communicating and talking with my chat, and I'm very involved in my Discord. I just want I don't know. I think my goal with streaming too is like I want to make humans feel like it's okay to be human, which involves being flawed, making mistakes, not being perfect, struggling. I'm just all about the human connection and human experience, I guess.
Yeah, you and me are aligned on that. It was a big part of the reason why I was so like drawn to this stream, because like for me, it's like you or me living a different life. Like that's like the whole thing. And so hearing you talk about these things, like, I mean, just going from like funny things to like really serious topics, and like just being open and honest with the people in there, it's super disarming and just human. Like it's just purely human. Like you're the most human stream that I've come across, like on Twitch.
Thank you.
Like that's
my goal. That's my goal.
Yeah.
So that means a lot.
Yeah, you're doing great. That's your brand, is just being a human being, like, and displaying that and being confident and talking about it. I guess like when you started tapping into that consciousness, that's where you started. Did you just start leaning into that? Is that like how you discovered the direction you wanted to go with like your content creation on stream? Because obviously there's other stuff that you're interested in, but like it seems like you compartmentalize like the things that you like to work on, right? So how did you discover, like, because you abandoned playing games in general to just chatting and like making stars or doing art projects and stuff. How did you decide like that was the direction you were gonna go?
It's like, and I'll say this to any streamer: do what's fucking fun to you. I love making crafts. I love doing painting streams. Has been so cathartic for me. Like, I swear I want to cry every time I finish a painting, because it feels so human to just make something, even if it's not perfect. Who cares? It's so fun to do. And I still like playing games. It's very hard for a game to catch my attention. And my attention span for a video game is not going to go super long. Like I can't play one game for 5 months or whatever. I like horror games. It has to be a game that I really like, or like even AI Dungeon. I enjoy that because it's not really a game. It's just like typing and like creating a story with your chat. And I like narrative. I like storytelling. I like, I don't know. It just felt the best. It felt the most fun. It felt the most rewarding, and
it felt right.
I think everybody needs to evolve their content to what they enjoy, because if you're not enjoying it, people are gonna feel it, and it's not going to do great, and
agreed.
It's hard because, you want to find brands and you want to do this and that, but it's like, dude, I talk and I do crafts.
Yeah.
Like that's
you do
what
it
I
confidently,
like.
and you know what you like. So, I mean, a lot of it takes like experimentation and just trying it. And like, to be
That's
honest,
true. That's true.
yeah, watching you like do the painting streams too, like, are super awesome, because like I see a lot of, I feel like everybody else in chat probably feels like this too, but when you're watching you specifically go do the painting streams, you articulate every thought process that's like going into what you're doing, and also the judgment that comes with like being an artist. Like, the artist brain turns on and it's like, all my artist friends probably think I'm like shitty, or you know, like there's like this weird, and then you dial it back. It's super cool to like experience, because all of these things are happening internally in all of our heads, but you are full on like displaying this stuff because it's just coming to you and you want to clue everybody in as to what's happening. And it's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, everything about that is just like, I know it doesn't seem like much, and you're probably in the motions so much doing this that like it's hard to I guess articulate it and have somebody tell you this, but like that for me, as somebody who enjoys your content, when you're doing that, it really just like it just makes me feel like I'm not alone, which is a beautiful thing. Like, I think that's genuinely what Twitch is for a lot of people, is like a form of connection and making friends and that sort of thing. But like, we all want to feel connected, and we all don't want to feel alone, and it's really cool to be able to see that thought process. And you do all of this like full on display unapologetically, and just being open and honest with like how you feel, because it's very hard for some of us to like articulate that.
It's funny that you bring up the painting thing, because you know, I talk to myself when I'm not streaming. I can't stop talking. You know, I have to have a lot of tea because my throat is always in pain because I talk so much. And so when I do painting streams, sometimes I watch the VOD or scroll and I'm like, did I talk? Did I even say a word? And like, a lot of the times during my painting streams, I don't even remember saying anything. But then I realize I'm saying every single, like you said, I'm articulating every single thought I have about this painting, you know, because it's already in my head, so I might as well say it out loud because I'm in front of a camera. Yeah. And people probably want to, you know, I'm just always, there's always a thought to be had. I don't know, I feel like people have more thoughts than they have. They just don't recognize that they're there, you know, even a discomfort or whatever. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge it, but that's a thought you're having, you know, and I just say it out loud because I don't know. I like the idea of making people feel like everything is not embarrassing or cringy or whatever. It's like, I think we're too hard on ourselves, and I'm very hard on myself. But then I could look at people objectively and say, you're all hard on yourself, but I can't say it about myself. You know, it's like, I can't take my own advice, but I just don't want anybody to feel bad about their existence and the way they are and the mistakes they've made. And whatever. I don't know. No,
I agree. Like, it's I don't know. It's, again, superhuman, like or super humanizing to see, because, like you said, we all have these thoughts, and to hear them out loud, like, I don't know. Everybody has to align with it, right? In some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you don't have an audience that's like there having a conversation with you or coming in like on a regular basis to do this, you know? So it's just like, I don't know. It's just really refreshing to see, and I'm glad that you're getting such good positive feedback around it, because it's something that I think just the whole honesty portion, and I guess we can kind of move into that perspective too. Like, talking about this stuff honestly from your own experience constantly is, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like it's too transparent. They're all, because you're not really revealing personal information. You're just sharing experiences that you've had, that we've all had. But you're sharing like your own unique perspective on it, and then you sort of give this like, what's the word? Like an overview, like observant, not judgmental, but like observant perspective on like your own behavior. So you'll like share a story, and then you'll be like, but that was just because, you know, I was afraid of what people would think of me, or because like, I don't know, you'll like a lot of the stories that you share related to like just anything sexual, like, is just pure honesty. Like, I can't think of anybody who's had a lifetime of, like, I'm in my 30s, so like there are a bunch of sexual experiences that I've had where like you talking about it, it's like, it's so funny that this stuff is like a stigma for most people, and it's so like uncomfortable. But it's, we all have sex, we all shit, like there's all these things that we do as human beings or want to achieve, but they're so like you said, these thoughts are, they go unaddressed, or like they're not articulated for us, so that we just sort of live with them. and we don't acknowledge them or address them so that we're comfortable with them or having them in conversation. But I think that has to do with just a practice, because you're well practiced in all of this stuff, and it's I don't know, it's really nice to see. So like, I guess, yeah, moving into like the honesty thing, when did you decide that it was like, because I mean, your videos are fucking funny on Twitter, and these happen usually during like nose cam streams and stuff, but how did you decide, like when it comes down to like the sex, I would consider you like sex positivity, like you have no problem like talking about sex and like sexual experiences and that sort of thing. Like how did you find like the bravery to just like go out and do that? Because I feel like that's a stopper for a lot of people. Is it just something that you're comfortable with, or is it just like stories that you've shared in the past that now you share with Stream Now, or like that sort of thing? I don't know.
I am not afraid of the truth. I'm not afraid of it. I don't think anybody should be afraid of it. I think people are so pressured to be perfect and not be embarrassing and have these, you know, there's those stories we have where like, oh, I was so cringy at that party or that thing, and I just, it's hard. It's hard. And when I was younger, I was really out of it. I was a mess, and I lied a lot, and I was very afraid of the truth, and I hated myself so much that I was very hurtful to people. And when you're a person that's shitty and you lose friends and you fuck up your life and you make some of the worst decisions of your life, and you're just like, well, fuck them, I didn't do, you're not actually looking at yourself, because it's so hard. I thought so much about so many things, and like for a year I'd be like, no, it's not my fault, I didn't do anything, blah blah, and it's like, no, I did. I chose to make these poor mistakes, and I don't have to hate myself for making those mistakes. You know, I don't have to want to die. You know, I really do think people think sometimes now, like with people getting canceled, it's like, oh, your only option is kill yourself. That's how they frame things, with how they treat people. And, yeah, and it's like, no one is a fucking saint. I will never believe that for a second. We have all done shitty things, even if they're small, in our life, because we're human, we're animals, we're learning. And I just want to be honest about shit. And the thing is, a lot of the stories I tell on stream, a lot of times it's the first time I've ever said it out loud. And my chat will react in a way that makes me feel so good. Like, I remember getting stories off my chest that I'm like, why was I so embarrassed of that? That's just a stupid thing, you know, that's a stupid thing that happened or thing I did or whatever, you know, like it always seems scarier than it is. And every year I feel comfortable telling more and more stories, because I feel like, why am I so embarrassed by that? You know, what is it that makes me feel like if people know it, I'm gonna be less? You know, that's not really true. If anything, I feel like it makes people more comfortable that they've done stuff. And not to mention, it's like when I talk about these sex stories, like I always try to do it in like an aggressive, you know, joking way. But, you know, there's a lot of dudes that will DM me and they're like, hey, I've watched all your videos and I realized I was doing everything wrong. So thank you. Like, I had no idea that I was such a cringe lord. Because it's all funny. You know, everybody I fucked that was horrible. I don't hate them. I don't think they suck. I hope they're better at it now. You know, I don't think they're just like some weirdo. It's just nobody teaches us this stuff, and we just watch porn, and sex is so weird and embarrassing and awkward. You know, like
true.
It's, I don't know.
No, it's true. I mean, like that, we're literally just given like the overview, like the technical terms of all this stuff, and like this is what happens if you have sex unprotected, and like it's just STDs, scare tactics. Like that was when I was in school, and so like, yeah, when it came down to like actually doing the deed or having sex, it was like, what the fuck do I do? Like I'm just like super nervous, and like there's no, you just kind of have to go with the ambiguity, and it's not going to be perfect the first time, right? But like the more you do it and the more you get like specific feedback like from your stream about things not to do or bad habits, like getting a towel for your significant other or whatever, like all this shit is just courtesy. Like it's just all standard stuff. But like you said, there's a whole like I mean, porn is the most easily accessed thing related to sex that we have, and you can learn all the bad things that go along with it when a person is way more complex than a fucking like category or like 4-minute video. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a really big part. I think like, I mean, when it comes down to it, you're just talking about truth and honesty with how you're talking about the human experience, and that's super important. I think as a fellow former asshole who has still asshole tendencies, that sort of self-recognition and all that stuff, like there's a lot of work that's involved with that. You don't just like flip a coin. And a lot of the cancel culture and bad behaviors that we're seeing online, that like for people who are for the first time being told this was wrong and you shouldn't have done these things, like they probably never had that in their life happen prior to that. And so like, I don't know, I'm definitely with you there. There needs to be a lot of forgiveness and conversation around these things. And like, I think there's definitely a threshold of unforgivable shit. You know what I mean? There's monsters for sure in this world, but a lot of the times I feel like
most people aren't monsters.
True.
Most people aren't monsters. Most people, even some people I know that are super fucking shitty, I still see them as a person. I'm like, they had a really fucked up childhood. Their parents treated them like shit. They never got the validation they want. Now they're narcissists. Now they talk like this because they feel like this. You know, it's like, we're not just that simple. It's not like we're a monster or not. And one big thing that really changed my perspective on everything, and I've talked about this before on stream, is I realized that it feels good to say sorry. I remember just being one of those teenagers, you know, that was like, no, I can't say sorry. I'm never wrong. I'm always right. And not being able to just see somebody else's perspective. And I remember like fucking something up, and I was like, and I just hated saying sorry, because once you say sorry, you admit that you were wrong. But that's not a bad thing. Like I remember saying sorry to somebody and be like, hey, this was really fucked up and I'm so sorry. Like that's it, you know, like I messed up, and them saying, oh, that's okay, you know, I really appreciate the apology. And just feeling that relief, like, oh my God, it was that simple. It was that simple. I didn't have to just be a cunt, you know, I didn't have to be like, oh, and I remember it was over something so stupid. Like I was just always saying edgy things, like just for no reason, like just making people feel like shit because I thought it was funny. And one of my friends posted on Instagram, she was like, I love my new shorts I bought. And I responded with, I don't. Like, I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with her shorts. I was just trying to be funny by being mean for some reason. And she messaged me and she was really pissed off. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm just fucking joking. I'm just joking. That's a joke. Why can't you take my joke, you know? And then I was like, why am I being so hostile? This person, obviously, I hurt their feelings. You know, they were hype, like, and that does feel like shit. Imagine you post photos in your, like, new outfit and, like, somebody comments that right away. It's like, fuck you. You don't need to say that. That's so rude, you know? And that was super rude of me. And I realized, like, okay, saying sorry isn't bad. You know, we're human. We all should be saying sorry every now and then. Because we get emotional and we do stupid shit sometimes.
Agreed.
Because our brains are like that, you know?
Well, it's part of being a human being. Like, there's ingredients to making an asshole. Like, it's you're never just an asshole right out the gate in my experience. And it takes a lot of work to, like, get yourself out of there. Especially, like, the self-recognition part, like, I think is probably the hardest. I guess that's a really good question, too. So when did you start, like, recognizing that your behavior was negatively impacting you, like mentally, like mental health wise, and the people around you? Like, I feel like there's a turning point for everybody. And what was your turning point? What was your moment of, like, self-reflection or self-recognition, I guess, in that? Or was it multiple moments, you know?
There was definitely multiple moments, but 2015 was the worst year of my life. I can't even get into it because I'm still not done getting into it with my therapist.
That's okay, yeah.
It's like so many things went wrong that year, and a lot of them were my fault. And I was like, what the actual fuck am I doing? What? I'm losing everybody I love because I want to be myself, you know? It's like you have this pride on like, I'm not gonna lose myself, when in reality you're just a dick, you know? You're just an asshole. It's not losing yourself, it's being kind to people and caring about humans, you know? And now I care about humans so much that when I meet people like past me, I always have a soft spot, because like, oh, I was you, you know? I was exactly that way. And I always hope for people to grow and realize it's okay to fuck up, and it's okay to love yourself, and it's okay to exist, you know? We only have so many years on the earth. We shouldn't waste our time hating ourselves or wanting to hate other people. You know, it's like,
yeah, I think that part's really hard, and asking for help too is like the biggest one. Like, I think that's a really big hurdle for a lot of people. I know for me, like, I'm a stubborn motherfucker. Like, yeah, I just don't ask for help, even if it's something simple, like putting together like a desk or some shit. Like, I'll get frustrated and mad, and then my wife, she'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I'm mad because I feel stupid," and like I articulate it like that. And it's just I don't know, even that is cathartic, like knowing why you're mad and understanding your emotions instead of just like swimming in it and being an asshole. Like, that takes a lot. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work. And I think maybe you'll be able to sympathize with this. And this was something that I heard recently, like within the past year. But I recently got to ask somebody who was like, it was a work like panel or whatever, and he was super successful, and you know how like those things go. Usually it's like, you're so successful and like you're an inspiration, but they never acknowledge like all the bullshit they went through to get to the point that they are. And so my question for him was literally just, you know, like, hey, there's been a lot of questions related to your success. I want to talk about like your past and how you address those things, because for me, I have like a shadow version of myself that weighs heavily down on me sometimes. And so my question for you is, do you still have that like shadowy version of yourself? Does it still exist, or is it gone? You know what I mean? And he's just shaking his head at me because he knew the answer already. And he's like, every day I wake up with that fucking thing on my back, and I know what I need to do in order to tuck him in every fucking day. And sometimes I can't. Sometimes he overpowers me and he's fucking got his grips on me and I'm having the worst day ever. But every day I'm wrestling this thing and putting him away back in the box where he fucking needs to be. Because that person that I used to be, and that shadow person that like can overwhelm me so easily, is also controllable. And I know what I need to do in order to keep my mind right, my body right, all that shit. And I was like, thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people think that you're just done. You know what I mean? You get to a point where you're done. Like, we're Bella, I'm KonkyTalks, everything's fine. But that's not how that works as a human being. Like, it is perpetual work and constant work. And to understand like that you need to be constant, not like, I guess working hard. It sounds like it's a lot of work, but it is. You have to figure out these ways that you can like realign yourself and ground yourself. And sometimes it's a matter of just recognizing you need a break, or a sensory deprivation tank, or eating right, or sleeping well, like all these things that we can kind of take for granted when we're swept up in the bullshit. Like, it becomes very important when it comes down to recentering ourselves. And it's I was curious if that was similar to what you would experience, because I know you went through like a whole self-development cycle, and seeing that also was really cool, like how you were able to sort of like realign yourself and be more confident in, you know, who you are.
Yeah, you know, I struggle with that shit every fucking day as well. Like, even this week, like, I haven't streamed in several days because on Saturday I had a mental episode, and then the next day I had a super huge panic attack, and then I had an even bigger one the next day. And I literally just drained my brain of serotonin that existed. And I'm barely getting out of it. And that's why I was actually really glad to do this podcast, because I'm like, maybe this will make me feel better so that tomorrow I could stream and feel normal again. It never goes away. You know, I always feel like, oh, am I done being funny? Did I tell the last funny joke I'm ever gonna tell? Why is my brain so empty? Why am I doing any of this? What is this all for? No one gives a shit about me. No one's ever gonna give a shit about me. I'm still an outcast. There's these thoughts that I have that just ruin me, you know? And it's so exhausting. It's like, just fuck off and let me enjoy my day. But my brain's just like, no, Bella, you're not good enough. You're not funny enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not anything, you know? Every single day I feel those things. And sometimes I just can't handle it. And the past few days I was legitimately losing my shit. And I was like, I am just nothing, you know? I laid down. I couldn't focus on even a show or anything. I just laid. I couldn't read. I couldn't exercise. I did nothing. You know, I just laid here, just in my little depression room, and just sat, because it doesn't ever go away. And I realized the people that care about what they do feel this all the time, you know? One of my biggest inspirations is Sydney Rachel, if you know who she is.
No.
She's this comedian she's also on the Everything Now show. She is awesome. I watched her videos so long ago. I think she's so funny. I think she's so cool. And it's funny because I ended up being invited to be on their stream, and I met her. And it was the first time that I felt like, oh my God, I'm meeting like one of my idols. And I remember talking to her about like comedy and like how whatever, and she was complimenting me so much. She was like, yeah, I just don't feel like I'm, you know, doing this or that enough right now, you know? And I was like, how the fuck does Sydney Rachel ever have a day where she thinks that? Because I just idolize her so much, you know?
Yeah.
And it made me realize anybody that gives a shit about what they do is going to feel that way at some point, because we care, you know? If I was in it for the money or the fame or whatever, then I wouldn't care. I would just be like, fucking let's throw the content out. It's like, no, I care about what I do, and I'm a real believer of don't stream if you're not mentally there, you know? I don't want to stream, you know? People are like, oh, no face cam, no voice, I'm just gonna play Minecraft. It's like, no, I'm not gonna do that shit. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm not feeling it, I'm gonna figure my shit out and go back to it. You know, and sometimes you literally need like a week of just self-reflection and existing to figure out what's wrong with you. Because I do feel that shadowy feeling every single day. There's not a day where I just feel on top of the moon.
Yeah, see, that's super important. I think like meeting an idol like that and having them just be real with you really like allows you to see them, you know, beyond the idolization, and really like brings you back to like the sort of earth thing. Like, we're all fucking struggling and doing as best as we can, you know? And I think you're totally right about the whole like needing to take a break and giving you the time to assess like where you need to be and realign yourself. I totally sympathize with that. It was something that I was struggling with like building the new PC setup and all this stuff, and like I was just so, and you're right, it is because we care so much. Like, I was so worried about, you know, coming back and not having everything quality wise working properly, and having people disappointed in like the content I was making and feeling like I was wasting people's time, you know? And so like
it's because you care, you know? It's because you really care.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's super important to recognize. I think like having that as an extra dose, and thank you for sharing that, having that as like an extra dose of like the me being sad about it is important perspective too, because it's so easy to just like have that on loop, like that repeated song we were talking about that's easy to listen to. We've been hearing it for so long that it just easily slips in without any sort of like a announcement or whatever. It's just present. It's like, why are you here now? And you're just like swimming in the bullshit again, you know? Man.
Yeah, I think we all are, you know, swimming in the bullshit, like, because we just want things to be good. And I respect anybody that feels that way, because it means that they care about their craft, you know? It's like, I want my streams to be good. You want your streams to be good because it matters to us, you know? And it's why I get so in my head about everything, because I want my stream to be good. I want every stream to be special and fun and nice, and I don't want to blow it. And so I end up hating myself too much, and it's like a very exhausting cycle that, you know, we torture ourselves with.
So has like anything, have you developed any sort of tools for you to realign yourself, like, and kind of get back into a better mental state? Is there anything that you learned, like after dealing with this shadow Bella for so long, that there's anything that you can share, like with well, maybe it was like the identification of like how you started doing it, baby steps, or what things work for you, because you never know the whole, you know, it could be somebody else who could hear that advice or need that advice as well.
So, I mean, it's always going to happen, you know. there are going to be days where I just can't deal with it.
Yeah.
You don't always figure it out, but this is so simple yet so effective. When I am going insane like that, I call or message one of my good friends, you know, and I'm very big on friendship. It is so nice to be able to message, you know, Wrath or Sunny or my friends and say, hey, like, I am losing it, you know, like, because I've been messaging them all weekend, like, hey, I'm losing it. Like, I don't know what's going on. And they're like, you're so funny and you're so great. You know, it's so important to have those people in your life that remind you of who you are, because sometimes you look in the mirror and you cannot see yourself no matter what. You're just trying and trying and trying and you just can't do it. But then your friends always see you like that because they're not in your body. You know, it's like when one of my friends is down about something, I'm like, I know them. So it's easy for me to say, no, you're fucking awesome. You're fucking strong. You're an incredible person. You're going to get through this. You deserve better. You know, it's so easy for me to tell that to my friends instead of tell that to myself. So really, when I'm losing my shit, I talk to my friends, and it really does make everything great. Seriously.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Like, I have some really close friends and awesome people that I reach out to whenever I'm struggling. I'm like, yo, I need to just like shut my fucking brain off, because right now I feel like I'm not worthy, or I feel like I'm failing. I'm not doing enough. Talking with Leia and my wife has been like, you know, it's been a beautiful thing. It's just been able to be open and honest. Yeah, you just need a support system in place, and it's freeing. It's being able to, and it's so weird too, because like a lot of the advice, and I'm sure you can agree with me on this too, but like when you hear it from your friends, it's way more believable than telling it to yourself. And when your friends say like a truth that you just know, like people give you advice and like talk to you about it, and you like you already knew that prior to the conversation, but them saying it like affirmed it, and it was just what you needed at that moment in time. So I know, like,
and they'll tell it to you a million times if you need, because sometimes I'm like, you know, saying the same thing 400 times a day, and I'm like, listen, I'm sorry that I keep asking you if I'm funny, but like I need to know, you know. And your friends that love you will give you that support, you know. And I'm always a phone call away for my friends. I always tell them, if I'm not streaming, give me a call, you know, because I will always answer the phone for my friends, unless I'm taking a nap or in the shower or whatever. But it's so important. I never realized how important friendship was until I finally got it as an adult, you know, because now I have so many friends. I have so many friends, so many people that care about me and love me and check on me and just calm me down, you know, because it's like we all need that sometimes, because we just go insane and we're just so hard on ourselves. But like, I really think friendship is number one. I really do.
Yeah, it's super clear too, especially like with how you handle your Discord, especially like you are the most involved like I've seen in terms of Discord, in terms of conversations, in terms of like involving people. Those like mental health talks that you started doing like on the 27th, right, of each month?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah. How can you tell me how that went? Like how was that for you?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that.
Yeah.
It was amazing. There was probably like maybe 15, 20 people ish. And I basically started by, you know, talking about my problems currently, just so that people know like what it's going to be like. And then people would respond and talk and like give me advice, or just, you know, say, you know, that really sucks. Because sometimes all you need is somebody saying that really sucks, you know, like the validation that, you know, it's hard. And then I said, oh, does anybody want to talk? And I would do that. And then somebody would just be like, yeah, I want to talk about my life. And they would share about a divorce, breakups, very traumatic life situations, friendships. They just all open up. And the thing that really surprised me too is there was a lot of people speaking up to help these other people, like Sunny and Wrath and Pacifist. There's a lot of people in there that are so good at talking that just hearing them validate other people in there, it wasn't just me that was doing all the talking. Everybody was like, hey man, you're going through a really rough time right now and you should be less hard on yourself, or I've been through something similar. It was wonderful. It was honestly so wonderful, and I'm so grateful that everybody was really respectful and nice and kind. It just felt like a group therapy session.
Yeah.
Because I used to go before COVID, and it felt like that through the internet. And I think it made a lot of people feel better. I also heard so many people in there just talk about not having friends, not having friend groups. And it just, we were all like, if you ever want friends or people to play with, like, we're always here. I don't want anybody to be friendless. I don't want anybody to feel like they don't have somebody to talk to or reach out to, because I don't want anybody to reach the point of suicide or whatever else, because that's what happens when you have nothing and you're like, there is nothing to lose and nobody will give a shit. I want everybody to feel like they are given a shit about, because we deserve that. And it's a very hard time. It's hard existing as it is, as a human.
Especially during these times too.
Friendships are nice. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's great. Like I think like having just I don't know how to explain this other than like my perspective growing up, but as a dude, not being able to express my feelings or articulate like how I feel, for most of my life up until I was in like my early 20s, is still a barrier for me now, and I'm 30. Like I'm still trying to like articulate why I'm feeling a certain way and like how the events in my past like led me to act a certain way now. And if I had the permission or the practice like ability to just do that with a bunch of friends like on a consistent basis, man, it would make a world of difference. Like it's so easy to just get swept up in your own mind reel of like, I deserve this, I'm a piece of shit, and like the things that like happened in my past, like they're important, but I'm gonna dismiss them because they're not as bad as other people's experiences. Like that's a big one too, that wall climbing over of, like, oh well, I should be grateful, but it's your experience is unique and what you've gone through is like traumatic. Like these are valid feelings regardless of your situation and where you are. And yeah,
I also feel like men are shamed a lot, and shamed to be emotional. It's harder for a man typically to open up about things because like, oh, you're a bitch, you're a pussy, you're a little pussy. And it's like, it's just this really gross culture where that's why a lot of dude friends, they're like, yo, what's up, bro? Let's play Halo and not ever talk about our feelings, literally ever. Yeah. Whereas girls, it's like we just cry and talk about how our crush doesn't like us back or whatever. And we're very vulnerable and emotional and open. And a lot of guys feel like, oh, is that weird to be emotional? Like, like, fellas, is it gay to have feelings, kind of thing? It's ridiculous. And I don't want people to feel that way. That's why in my Discord, we're memers and we joke around a lot, but I get very serious in there and people get very serious in there. And I think it's really helpful to hear other people speak too and think, okay, well, this person's opening up, maybe I will, because fuck it, why not? And I think that it's so important to just not bottle it in so much, because it's not like one gender goes through more, we're all going through so much. And I think that men need a place to talk about that kind of stuff because they usually don't.
No, I agree. As a fellow man, men, hello? Yeah, it's really tough being emotionally vulnerable, and I think like it's a practice. It's like that river or whatever we talked about like in the beginning. It's something that is very uncomfortable and hard to do, but the more you surround yourself with people who showcase that sort of like strength or ability to do so, or have somebody demonstrate like by sharing their feelings like they're doing in your Discord, that's really empowering for people to show like their emotional state. It's phenomenal what you're doing, and I appreciate the like intention behind it, because it's not a therapy, right? It's similar in a sense. Like I feel like the word therapy gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people are like, okay, well, streamers are not therapists, and I agree. You know, we're not licensed therapists, but that doesn't mean we can't have a conversation with people and just be real about like our own life experiences. And I think that's super important, you know?
And like, you know, that's why I framed it as like a mental health discussion, you know, because we aren't therapists. And that is a very interesting topic because, you know, there is that whole stress of being a streamer, especially when you first start out. Now I can handle things, but when you'd get a viewer like, hey, I don't know what to do. And it's like, I don't know you, you know, like I can't text you. I can't call you. I can't message you all day. You know, I don't have the time to respond to every single person. You know, I can barely take care of myself and my cat, you know? So instead of coming to me, it's like, how about I just slowly build this whole community of loving people in my Discord. So now that if somebody's having a bad day, it's like, I don't have to just be the therapist, you know, because I can't be. I'm not a therapist. I don't know what to tell you. And some people come at you with really heavy things, and I'm like, hey, if you're feeling suicidal, I'm not qualified for this discussion. You know, you need to seek a therapist or whatever, and, you know, find professional help that I can't give you. All I can do is foster a good community. But I typically don't get messages like that anymore anyways. So I feel a lot less stressed about it, because you do have the pressure of like, oh, if I don't message them back, am I a horrible streamer and horrible person because I didn't personally save their life? But it's like, we cannot message everybody back, you know?
Yeah, you got to control what you can control. And like, we're all human, you know, we got a lot of shit to deal with. And when it comes down to like the safety of others, like, I mean, the most responsible thing that we can do for ourselves is be as safe as we can possibly be with the people we surround ourselves with, and the people we involve in our lives, the people we directly interact with every day, and ourselves. And so like, that's the prerogative. Everything else kind of has to unfortunately take a sidestep. And I think like a lot of the stuff that we're experiencing now with like the mental health space in general, a lot of that are symptoms of a society that doesn't treat mental health like it's health, like physical health. And that's obviously a deeper discussion for sure, but there's a lot of stuff that we can do to sort of make this like a normal conversation, because a lot of this hasn't been a normal conversation for so long that it's stigma. You know what I mean? Like, men growing up, I was, you know, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, stop being a pussy, you're being a little bitch, you know, like all of these really derogatory things that stop you from experiencing your emotions. And it's not like they disappear. They're still present, and they create that turmoil inside of you. And for me, it turned me into an asshole, because I was like, the world is against me and I don't need to acknowledge these feelings, because if I do, I'm a pussy. Like, addressing your feelings and being emotionally vulnerable is maturity, is understanding yourself, is self-reflection. There's a lot of stuff that goes in play, and we can only, you know, provide so much insight through the conversations we have on this podcast, and, you know, your own streams and the Discord conversations, and, you know, professional help. Like, it's got to go that route if it's too heavy for us to deal with, because again, like you said, we're not therapists, we're not professionals, right? Man, super deep.
Yeah, there is that stigma, which sucks, because therapy is a wonderful thing. You know, sometimes you just need, I see a therapist as getting the drawer. I imagine my fucking brain is a drawer, and you open this drawer and you have all these different files, and the therapist takes them all out and just organizes them neatly and puts them back in your head. Yeah. You know, that's what I need. Just organize my thoughts. You don't have to fix me. You don't have to change my life. Just make me understand why I'm thinking all this, and I've had some incredible therapy experiences. And I, you know, really always advocate for it and push people to get the help they need, because it does suck, because there are some, you know, it's also like being sensitive. The word sensitive is used in a negative light, you know, like if a guy is called sensitive, it's like, yeah, you're weak. since when is having emotions bad? You know, like, we are human.
Yeah.
And then you suppress that for years, then you become a angry person or an asshole or whatever because you were never allowed to cry, stuff like that.
No,
And
for
hi, Beer
real.
Good.
Welcome in, Beer Good. Hi. No, for real. Like, I think that's a big part of it too, because you have to channel those emotions some way, right? And so they usually get routed to like aggression or like a thing that is okay to be or permitted to be, you know what I mean, by society and like the people we grow up with. So it's super strange. I would argue that like it's not that you're less human, but it makes you a more powerful human being to, and when I say powerful, I'm not relating to like physical power, but just like an understanding of yourself, an understanding of like what others may be going through, an understanding of like your fellow human beings that you interact with every day. Because that perspective you carry with you, where you encounter an asshole, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is you practice assuming positive intent. You're like, well, I mean, they weren't an asshole probably the whole day. Maybe they had like a rough day going ahead, or maybe they're like, if somebody cuts me off, you know what I mean? Your instinct, that switch happens still, where it's like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. But they could be late to chemo or late for their job that they just started, or, you know, like they got to go pick up their kids. There's like a bunch of variables that create the scenario that you're in. And it's easy to go down that default mental pathway of negative assumption and just be like, that person's an asshole, and like just assume the worst. But it takes a lot of practice to like see the actions happening, observe what's happening, actually observe them, and then, you know, make an assessment that is positive in a certain respect, because ultimately we're, you know, responsible for the reality that we create, right? And everything's negative, then you start to swim in the negative shit.
Yeah, I
Super
think we
weird.
should all just give each other a break, because because I can turn into a Karen for sure. Like, we all have those moments of just, we're having a bad day and the last fucking straw happens, you know? The bitch forgot your fucking ranch in your bag, whatever. It's, you get, and sometimes, you know, because I've worked a billion food jobs, some people are dicks because their day is just bad, you know? And it's like, that's why I hate those threads on Reddit or whatever, where it's like, tell me about the celebrity you saw once and if they were an asshole. And it's always like, yeah, I met, you know, whoever. I met Jim Carrey and he did punch somebody in the face and he's just so angry. And it's like, it's always just an exaggerated tale of somebody probably having a bad day. Especially because being a celebrity seems like it would suck dick. You are literally not a human anymore. You have evolved
Agreed.
into just an icon. You are a fake human that people think they could just talk shit on you on the internet. You know, celebrities talk about that, how it's like, no one treats me like a person anymore. They just tell me how much they fucking hate me online because they think I don't care or that I don't read it or whatever, but I see it.
Yeah.
It seems like a hell, like being in a circus prison. You know, you're on display for everybody. And it's like people want to hate people sometimes, especially successful people. Like, I truly believe too, like, with all the canceling shit, I think there are people out there that are just like, fuck yeah, this person that had success has lost it all today because, you know, they said a bad word in 2012. You know, it's like, I swear to God, these people get off on people losing their careers because they're like, haha, you lost the success that I never had a chance at.
Right.
It's just really angry people a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that's a really, I mean, they're trying to make themselves feel better in a way, right? And like the reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same kind of thing when you have like the one person in chat that just says like something racist, like they open the door and they're like, hey, and then they say like something racist or fucking asshole-ish, and you're like, okay, there's a room, literally a room filled with people. You're telling me you would do this in real life? I don't think so. Like, nobody would do that shit.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. If you opened a door and there was a 300 or like 60 people, or how many people? 60 people in here, and you were just like, hey, and you said that shit, we'd be like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Get punched in the face.
Yeah, like, you get punched in the face, or like, yeah, you would have some sort of I don't know. It's like socializing, right? If that happened on the playground, right, as a kid, you would be like shunned. Nobody would interact with you. You're an asshole automatically. So it's
that reminds me of Andy Milanakis. He always gets people that shit on him, and I love Andy because he's just so himself. He doesn't give a fuck.
Unapologetically, and he's like, Andy. Yeah.
He's so unapologetic, and I just love that. And he's like, Hey guys, all of you that have talked shit on me on Twitter and Twitch, I'm at TwitchCon. So all of you that have talked shit on me, I would love you to come up to me and talk to me and tell me why you don't like me in person. How many people came up to him? Zero! Literally none. Because people are just they're so brave when they're behind a couple letters.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's like, I don't know, it's just a power thing. I think the more we see it for that, and the less we indulge in giving them attention, I think that's a really big part. But also, like, sometimes they deserve the attention. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're being an asshole. This person's being an asshole. Like, you can, I don't know. I feel like we've been seeing that too with like the whole Cyberpunk delay, like this game that got delayed.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Yeah, just like death threats and like all these people. And I'm like, what? I took a week off work. I'm like, you're telling me that your job won't let you cancel your paid time off to work for them, like during that week? Like, dude, just relax. It's a game. Like, it'll come out, it'll be amazing. Just fucking relax. Like, this is your fault. Part of this is your fault. Just own up to it and cancel your PTO, you know? But people are crazy.
I also feel torn though on giving them attention, because there are days where I'm just so angry that I have to respond to a troll or whatever.
Yeah.
It's never worth it. It's never worth it. It's never, ever, ever, ever worth it. I think the golden rule is if somebody says something even slightly annoying, you know, they say something where they're like, oh, little misandrist again, because they think I hate men because men don't know how to make me come. So they say all these angry things, I just mute them forever. Like, they're just muted. So whenever I tweet, they're not blocked. They want to get blocked. They're like, ha, I got blocked. Here's the screenshot of me being blocked.
Yeah.
When you're muted, you don't know you're muted. You are talking, you are screaming into an empty, dark hallway, and no one's hearing you ever. And it's so funny to me, because people that I've muted for like a year, they comment on all my tweets telling me to kill myself, or they hate me or whatever, or something, and I literally will never see it ever, and they're still boosting my tweets by giving me engagement.
It's beautiful.
So it's like, there's no point in responding. It's like, imagine arguing politics online. Imagine responding to that guy. There's no point. You are changing nobody's mind. They're angry. They're doing it for attention. They hate women, whatever. Not worth it. Never worth it. Just mute and move on, you know? And sometimes it's funny if they're like in chat and you make fun of them. That's always fun. But like Twitter, if they're really trying to get to you, you know, you just got to move on, or they'll go crazy and like make new accounts, or, you know, I've dealt with that before with my whole court situation. So I'm like, no, I got to mute you and just not tell you to fuck off. Cause sometimes they want to hear fuck off.
Oh yeah, it gets them off by hearing fuck off. Yeah, it's yeah. I guess like that's an interesting topic too, because with all the social media stuff that you do and like the engagement you get, is muting like part of that mental health care that you have? Because I started doing that too. Like I was talking about it today. I was like, I mute my own tweets like constantly, because the dopamine hit from like seeing the notification like number and all that, like it's just self-masturbatory is really what it was. Like my brain was like, yes,
is.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm doing it. No,
yeah.
And when a tweet of mine hits a certain number, I mute it because I don't want to see it. I don't want to. Not to mention, when any of my videos pass 1,000 likes, just forget about it. Like, wait till all the comments tell me how I'm like, you fucking dumb Amy Schumer, dumb bitch. Like, how dare you? Or I get this one a lot. Women thinking they're funny. Like, is so cringe. Imagine being a woman and thinking you're funny. Oh, blah, 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 woman funny, woman funny, woman funny. And it's like, bitch, I don't have time for this. I'm just mute. And I just love personally muting people. Yeah.
I love that, though. That's a good thing to practice. I'm glad that you're utilizing these tools, because, like, bitch, I haven't got time for this. I love that. I love that.
I don't. Yeah. I really don't.
That's good. What are the, like, I guess muting is probably the best thing, because you're most active on Twitter. Are you trying to do, I had like your Instagram link and stuff on there, because I noticed you're starting to like post more regularly there. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. But like for social media and like all the attention and stuff, how is handling that on a consistent basis?
It's good and it's horrible. Because like Instagram, I don't give a fuck about. And I give so little fucks about Instagram that it's kind of healthy. You know, it's really healthy to not care about the numbers. You know, When I post something on Instagram, I don't give a fuck. I could post a picture of trash. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, my engagement, my ratio, what all? You know, I post bullshit on my stories, and I'll ghost it for like a month when I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And that's a healthy relationship. Twitter, it's like, oh God, what if I lose my engagement? What if one day all my tweets have 3 likes and nobody finds me ever again and I lose my career and nobody cares? And it's so unhealthy to do that, you know? It's so... I try not to be on it. I used to be on Twitter way too much, like maybe 8 months to a year ago. Now I try to tweet, reply to a couple people, and get the fuck off. You know, I don't always have it open. You know, I have friends that have it open all the time, just going through this and that, and I delete it off my phone all the time. Or I just have my private Twitter on my phone. So that I can't go on my main account and I could just, you know, hang out with whatever little people I'm talking to on there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's just, it sucks that Twitter is so powerful. You know, it's so good for your career. You know, Twitter is the reason so many of my clips blew up. Twitter is the reason I was on a podcast with Tom Segura, like, you know, that clip. Because of Twitter, it's so useful, but because it's so useful, we get so addicted to it, and we get so like, oh, I need to just boost my numbers and grow and grow and grow. And the thing is, there's no end in sight. Like, I remember having like 1,000 followers and being like, hell yeah, I hit 1,000, but like, oh my God, somebody just followed me with 20,000 followers. Whoa, that's crazy. As you grow, you get smaller and smaller mentally, because I'm like, oh shit, now I'm at 10K. I have the 10K number. That's crazy. But then I'm like, oh my God, all these people that like talk to me have like 100K. They probably think I'm a loser. And then you hit 30K and you're like, oh my God, all these 100, you always feel small. Like, you're always comparing yourself in the small group. You're never like, oh man, I'm more powerful than all these. It's so stupid. You know, it's honestly really stupid. It's just numbers. It doesn't mean anything.
It sounds unhealthy. You know? It sounds like you're equating like your value with the numbers, right? You quantify it, like, and because it displays it in such a like appealing way, it makes it addictive. I never have
notifications on for anything. Like, I don't, like, my phone does not buzz for Twitter, Instagram, nothing. My phone buzzes is if I get a text. That is literally it.
That's good.
Because I do not. That's just too many. That's just, I wouldn't know what to do with all that, like, information.
I feel like it's too much. Like, our brains aren't meant for that sort of access on a consistent basis. That's why it's so detrimental to a lot of people. I know, like, mentally too, like, since the introduction of social media, and this is just a little side tangent, but like the suicide of like young girls since the introduction of and I'll have to find the article for people to post.
It's up like 400%. Yeah, I saw that.
It's wild since the introduction of social media. I'm like, okay, well, clearly there's a negative effect on that, right? Like body image and like people constantly being like, well, my life is perfect, and like photoshopping themselves. It's a really unhealthy filter, so to speak, on how we like view ourselves and fellow human beings and what we expect for our own lives, when those expectations are super unachievable for us, you know?
It's ridiculous. It sickens me. Like, I fucking hate social media. Like, I hate it. I love that it can help me and my career, but overall, I hate it, you know? Like, I applaud people that don't have anything, you know, that just stay off the grid, you know? It's so much healthier than going through this discover page and everything is an algorithm and your phone listens to you, so you get ads of things you want to buy, and it's just money. It's just money. Let's make girls feel like their bodies are ugly so that they could spend money on surgery and Botox and fillers and fucking weird clothes that fits tight so that you lose weight. It's just, it is absurd, and it doesn't let women have bodies that they have. It's like, oh, you got pregnant? Oh, well, you need to get your body back. Or shows like, I can't stand the Kardashians, their revenge body. It's a show about, oh, your ex dumped you, time to get the body of your dreams. It's so fucked up. It's like, stop obsessing over these things. It's so disgusting, you know? And I feel happy. It's like, even today before I went on this stream, I was hanging out with my friend Binsky, and we went on a walk, and we just walk. We just like to walk, you know, like even if I live in like a crusty area, it's like I love seeing buildings and stores and just the air, you know. And I was thinking like, man, why haven't I gone on a walk in a while? Like I just want to walk and I just want to feel the earth underneath me. I want to exist around me. I want to exist with the people around me, not just the internet, because a lot of the times you see somebody with like 1 million followers, they're literally just sitting in their bed, just on their phone. Just there's no fullness of life that they have that you can't find, you know. And that's the problem with children on these apps. I think social media should be 18 plus. I'm not even kidding. I
agree. Yeah,
I was a teacher. I had students that were talking about plastic surgery, all wanted to be YouTubers, all wanted to be all these things, and it's like, this isn't reality anymore. Like everything is so
tainted,
shifted. Yeah, and they watch these shows and they get these ideas of what they need to look like or be like or exist like, and it's putting so much pressure on people that people are killing themselves, you know, like the Social Dilemma documentary talked about and all that.
Yeah, the Social Dilemma, is that on Netflix or something?
Yeah, I thought that's why you mentioned the percentage thing, because in that documentary they specifically talk about the girl, like 14 to 17-year-old girl's suicide rate is up 400% since social media.
No, that was just a podcast I was listening to. I mean, that's like long form content is the reason why I got into podcasting and doing these conversations on Twitch, because I was like, nobody does this shit and nobody does it like as a conversation. It's always got a prerogative, or there's something in place, like you know, like, oh, we'll set them up for this, or we'll put fucking 30 people in a room and have them argue over each other. It's just like super not productive, and it makes you feel disconnected from the people that are involved. So I was like, I want to do something like that. But yeah, lots of podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts like since before iTunes was in place.
Oh wow.
And I just didn't, I know what you're talking about with the walks thing, because I always gravitated towards the things that like stopped my brain from buzzing all over the place and brought me present, like baselined me. And walking and rollerblading specifically for me has been like so freeing, because nothing else matters when you're on blades. Like you got to be careful. You're like going down the street, like watching out for cars. Like you don't have time to focus on anything else but where you are in the pavement. And so like walking, like it's a little bit, it's a lot more of like a safer way to do it, but it really does make you appreciate your surroundings, especially like when we're spending so much time inside this year.
I love that you do the rollerblades like that. I want everybody to go outside, and it doesn't seem like a big difference, but it does. Every day that I stay inside for 2 days straight, you know, because we can do that, we're streamers and COVID.
Yeah.
But then I go outside and I'm like, man, I feel so good. You know,
it's
the
so
air,
crazy.
like the ground, just looking at the leaves on the ground, like it just feels like I am part of this earth. You know, I'm not just on the internet. I am a human I get to experience the world right now, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful that I could walk on the street and walk, you know, I love walking to 7-Eleven and buying a hot chocolate or whatever. I live for those little moments, and I think going outside is just so important. I
agree.
As much as everybody wants to be a
smelly
indoor gamer, like you gotta step outside.
True. I think like it's just a matter of like getting into the uncomfortable and kind of just going with it. And you'd be surprised. Like people love music and walks like for a reason. There's so much. I don't know. You even just like listening to the out here in the Midwest, we're going through fall, so like all the color changes and the leaves blowing around. Like there's a lot of audible things. And there was a moment that I had recently that like sort of reminded me that I'm not doing the same thing that you're mentioning, like going outside and like being present physically, just being outside, even if it's just like a short walk. And we were right before the whole COVID-19 thing happened, or during the midst of it, I guess, me and my wife were celebrating our honeymoon in Japan. And we were
That's right.
We were in the bamboo like preserve, and they have a word, I think it's called makari or makori, which is the word for like the sound the bamboo makes when it rustles together. And we're just like walking around and the wind's blowing and you're just hearing this like music, essentially. I'm like, the earth is speaking and like everybody is just quiet and just like enjoying the space. And I was like, this is just, it's so cool to be able to just reconnect with nature in that way and feel like you're a part of something, because it kind of beckons back to what we were talking about initially, like with Twitch and like the internet and all these things. They're all tools for connection that were created so that we could get to know each other and speak and connect with one another. And the way we did it initially, like the original way we did it, and why it feels so good to do it like when we go outside and stuff, was through nature. We were outside together, we were connecting together, having conversations together around fires together. Like, who doesn't love a good fucking bonfire and coming home all smoky and shit, you know, after good conversation with friends? There's so much like feel good energy that comes from that. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And like with friends too, you know, that's so amazing. I'm so jealous of that Japan experience, like being able to be around that bamboo and everything with your wife. That must, you'll never forget that, you know, till you die, you know. And I live for those kind of moments. And I think that's what's really killing me with the COVID stuff, is I want to go places. I want to explore places. And luckily I could still go camping and stuff, but I want to see more things, you know. It's like, that's my goal. One of my life goals is I want to go to museums all over the world, because I really like art museums, and I want to go to all of them, you know. I just want to experience things. And I think the COVID is making the internet worse right now, because that's all we can do, you know. So I don't blame people for spending a little too much time online, because what else is there to do right now, you know? We're just bored. It's like, I can't go to the movies, I can't go to the gym, might as well browse the internet. But after COVID, I really hope that people feel inspired to do stuff, you know, hang out, exist, you know, be around a bonfire, go camping, go to Japan, go wherever you want to go, you know, because we don't have enough time.
Agreed. Yeah, well said. I think that's super. It was so easily taken for granted that we were willing to put it off, and now that we have like a full year of being inside and like all of these terrible things happening that we can't help but focus on because we're inside looking at the internet all day, especially with like the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff that's been going on, but like we weren't paying attention to it until everybody was online and like looking at these videos and stuff, and everything the government and all this shit that's been happening for not only the past 4 years, but like because of the person we have in office, like has brought attention to, like we are now no longer complacent. Like we realize that we have to be active. I don't think, like, what I'm hoping is that after all of this COVID-19 shit is over and done with, like we don't go back to normal and we're really like active community wise, because like we took all of this for granted, you know what I mean? Like even going to the grocery store and being 6 feet apart, like we're social creatures, and now we have this thing that's keeping us from literally interacting and shaking hands and like approaching and being approachable to other people. So it's I really hope that, you know, we're able to move on and become better from this. I know we're kind of coming up on our 2-hour mark, so I wanted to ask you a question before we get into some Q&A. Was the as far as like content creation goes, I know we've talked a lot about like advice and things of sharing our own experiences. Is there anything that you would like to share to anybody who's aspiring to be a content creator or is currently streaming on the platform, that maybe it took you a while to learn? And if you need to frame this in the context of like, if you could talk to past Bella about streaming and give her advice on that, that's how I would channel it, I guess.
I feel like framing it in that way makes it harder for me to answer, because like I already like saw my path, you know. But I mean, I think the thing is, if you're a streamer and because people want different things, you know, people need to be honest. You need to be honest with what you want. Do you want fame? Do you want money? Do you want whatever? I think if you don't actually care about it, you're gonna burn out no matter what, because people do that all the time. I really think that you should try new things all the time. You know, I do a stupid new thing all the time, because that's where you're gonna find out what clicks. If you try something on stream and it sucks, who cares? Don't do it again. You know, it doesn't have to make any sense. You could have the dumbest idea, you know, and vocalize your thoughts, like really communicate with the people that watch you, you know. I'll be in chat and I'll just be like, hey guys, what if I did this on stream? You know, people will be like, yeah, do it, you know, and they usually do say do it, because people do want to support you and have you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think that being able to evolve your content is very important, because as time goes by, the world slowly changes, and your content, you may not want to, you know, because I have friends that feel very stuck on a video game because they got big and they blew up off of one game.
Yeah.
And now when they don't play that game, they don't get the viewers or they don't get the whatever, and they go insane. I never have my viewer count on, literally ever. I never at any moment in time know how many viewers I have. I don't want to know. And I hate when viewers like mention it. They're like, oh wow, there's 300 people in here or whatever. I'm like, just please stop. Like, I don't ever want to hear it. I honestly hate it. But I don't ever say that I hate it on stream, or else, you know, people will just do it to piss you off.
Yeah, you just ignore it, right? And you just move on. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, be easy on yourself, you know? I think there's this pressure of like, I gotta grind, I gotta stream fucking 7 hours a day, every day. I don't think 24-hour streams are a great idea either. I don't think any of that is necessary. I think that's just detrimental to whatever the fuck you're trying to do. But I just be into what you're doing. If you're not into it, everybody will know, you know? If you want to make dolls on stream, you should love to make dolls. If you want to play Rocket League, you must really love Rocket League, you know. You just love what you're doing. Don't force it, you know. And don't be afraid to try really bizarre ideas. And also with reaching out, you know, it's always scary being like, hey, do you want to do a podcast, or do you want to do this or that?
Yeah.
There are going to be surprising yeses all the time. There are always going to be surprising yeses, because if you actually care, it's like a vibe, you know? I just feel somebody's vibe. Some people, they message me and I'm like, you're just like weirdly using me. You don't know anything about me. You just want something from me or whatever. But then some people are like, I want to know your brain. I want to know you. And like, cool people are usually pretty down if you also give the same energy that they give back, you know? So don't be afraid to reach out to people, to evolve your content, figure out new content that might want to work, and don't force anything. And also, you don't have to be a streamer either, you know, because there's always this stigma of, if you're a streamer, you're never allowed to quit. You're never allowed to do anything else, you know. You have to just keep grinding. Sometimes when you stream, you figure out, oh shit, I'm really good at casting, or I'm really good at this. Like, you could end up being a person that works for a video game, or a voice actor, or whatever. You know, if you try new things, you could find a more specific creative avenue you want to go. Because I'm not going to stream till I'm 100 years old, you know. I want to do bigger and better projects and things, and I love streaming, and I will enjoy it for as long as I can. But, you know, always explore other creative avenues, because if you're a streamer, I feel like there's some sort of creativity that you have, and you should explore it in any way that you can.
Agreed. Yeah, I think like spending so much time on your stream also kind of going back to like what you're talking about for like the hours of streaming and grinding, like that's such a commonplace thing. Like a lot of people, a majority of people in chat are streamers, you know what I mean? Like they stream, they have their own content, and it's not that I have a problem with that, but usually like and this was my initial, like, I guess take on streaming when it happened, was it was for selfish intentions, and I was like, I'm funny, so people will show up because I'm funny. But like, that's not what happens at all. Like none of that happens. None of this is given to you. None of it's deserved. You have to like make your own discoverability and connections, and you have to like, I really feel like in order to be a content creator or streamer or whatever, like you have to have what you're talking about, those underlying other passions. Otherwise it sort of falls flat and you're stuck doing the same thing over and over again, and there's no fulfillment in that because you're practicing something that you're used to, you know. So that's interesting. Yeah, being able to try and do more things, and I think having a network of friends to like engage with and ask those questions with is super imperative. That's how we ended up here, like doing this show. It was like, people really like these one-on-one conversations and talking with people, you know? Like, I was like, okay, cool, I'll do more of those, and I want to make sure that I spend the time to get to know the people I would like to have on the show beforehand, so that it's not just some awkward, weird interview, you know, with a handful of questions and super scripted or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that.
Awesome. So I do have some questions that were logged. Let me see here. Okay. Anthony would like to ask, how did you get through your first live stream? Or when you first got in front of the camera, like how did you get through that? And we talked a little bit about how you put yourself in this like mental space, but obviously that was like a developed thing. Or was that right out the gate? Like you created this like spaceship idea?
I mean, I feel like it sort of develops over time, you know, because my brain is very strange. Like throughout the day, I'm always imagining myself in weird places, and I have synesthesia, so I have all these like weird things that I'm just seeing all the time. And when I first streamed, I pretended like I was just on chat roulette. I was like, because I didn't know what Twitch was. Like my first stream on Twitch, I'd never been on Twitch before. Like I had never watched a stream, so I had no basis. I even remember like a week or two into streaming, somebody was like, "Oh, you missed a follow," and I was like, "Oh, who is the follow?" And somebody was like, "KonkyTalks just followed." I didn't know who that was, so I was like, "Oh, thanks, KonkyTalks," and I just went to playing.
Yeah.
And then people were like, "Wow, she actually believed it," and I was like, "I don't know who that is." Like, and I felt so like embarrassed, but I was like, I literally don't know anything about this platform. And now that I know her, she's fucking incredible, just genius.
Agreed.
But
Yeah.
it's like I had no expectations. That's why I almost feel kind of bad for people that start streaming now, because there's a million streamers and there's all these ideas of what streaming is, so people feel like they have to follow the rules. I don't think there are fucking any rules, okay? I stream with a camera under my fucking nose, you know? Like there are no rules. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck you want. And when I first streamed, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just screaming, playing Hearthstone and Skyrim, and people would type and I would just not ever shut up. Like, it's funny to think that the amount I talk now on stream is the exact same amount I talked when there was one person in my chat.
Wow.
You know, I just like to talk a lot.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome though. Like you had to start somewhere. So yeah, you just kind of like worked your way through it. And I agree. Like I don't know about how people start streaming now. I'm sure it's more of the younger generation, but like as somebody who started streaming like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm gonna say that doesn't even count, because I didn't know what I was doing, like, or what I wanted my content to be, or what my intentions were, until about 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, like I purposely did not know or try to know the like most popular people, because like the way I handle the internet for the most part is that there's so much information that kind of going back to the whole like our brains aren't wired for this. I choose to go off the recommendations of other people and like what they would recommend, or what they would like to recommend me, because there's so much information. I could not possibly give a fuck enough to like do it. There's just too much. I'm sorry, I can't do anything else. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Devotion. Bella, is there anything about streaming that surprised you now that you've done it for a while?
I think I can answer this in a bunch of different ways. I think I'm surprised in there's positive things and negative things. Like, I'm surprised that it consumed me, you know? I'm surprised that it's my whole life, you know? When you're a streamer, when you're on Twitch, it's your life. It's everything you know. It's all that you talk about sometimes, but that's also bad, you know? It's like I'm so wrapped up in streaming that sometimes I don't feel like I'm a person, and that's why I say I hate social media and I need to go outside and I need to breathe, because it is so overwhelming sometimes. You know, sometimes it feels very competitive. Sometimes it feels very scary, you know, when Twitch posts something and they're like, oh, we're doing this, we're gonna do this, you might get banned, you know. It's scary. It's a very scary job to have. It's like, what if because I'm pretty crass, like what if I get banned because I say something that one day is not acceptable,
Right.
because of that, you know. So it's a lot scarier than I thought, you know. I thought it was just gonna be a chill good time, but also it's surprising in holy shit, I have so many friends now, and like real friends, you know. And I never thought I'd have such close friends from the internet, but my best friends ever, literally all of them, are from Twitch. And I never thought that would happen, you know. I thought I was just living my life, and I didn't know so many people would end up caring about me. So I think streaming is so good. If not even if you want to blow up or get big, if you just want friends and a group and people, you know. And I think it's important that we have people all the time. So
I agree. Some of my favorite thing about the platform has been some of my friends that I've made, and like seeing them too, like tangibly, like TwitchCon, fuck the whole like whatever TwitchCon is, like for marketing purposes, that was like meeting my friends and like, oh my goodness, like it's just, you're physically real. Like it's like you listen to each other's podcasts almost like on a regular basis, but you're not physically like past that barrier of being friends and even playing games and shit together, you know. Like you're in the Discord hanging out, you see each other possibly like if you use the face cam or whatever, but then you see them physically in person, you get to hug them. There's just this like whole, like I am the same person around them.
I live for that feeling.
Yeah.
I live for it. Like smoking a joint with my viewers was one of the highlights of my fucking life. Like, because like, oh, all these people I know, all these like voices and faces and people on Discord, and now we can hang out, you know. And it's probably so weird for them to see me too, because you know I'm the streamer lady and now I'm just a real life little worm. And it's just so fun because it's like I don't even have to. What I realize is I skip that anxiety phase. Like when I go to a party and I don't know anybody, I'm just like, you know, against the wall, just like, I don't know what to do at this YouTuber party. I don't know what phase is, and I don't know what I'm doing here.
Right.
But then when I hang out with my viewers, like you all know me, you know, you all know what I'm like, and you already like me, so I don't have to pretend to be cool or anything. I could just be Bella, and everybody likes me.
The expectation is so you show up and you're yourself, and that's it. That's all the expectation we have, and it's like we've been doing that, so this is just real life now, you know. So awesome.
It's TwitchCon. I don't give a fuck about the panels. I'm like, yo, let's go smoke, let's go drink, let's go do stuff, you know. I keep fantasizing about it all, and hopefully next year we have something. I hope. I
was thinking about like just in general about, I know like the TwitchCon stuff for like networking purposes and getting to meet people is pretty cool and stuff, but the big thing that we were talking about like in our group of friends was just like, okay, well, let's like closest group of friends, we're just gonna rent a giant Airbnb and just hang out, because that was literally like the thing we did when TwitchCon happened. Like fuck the tickets, all that money goes to the Airbnb, food, smokables, like whatever we want to do, and we could just chill and be ourselves and like enjoy the town and shit, and like do it in our leisure, you know. So yeah, totally, that's such a fucking cool thing. So yeah, thank you for asking that question. And let me know. So I know we've got, let's see, 4 more questions. There may be more. Let me know when you would like to start wrapping up. I know you've been like this could be taxing, like asking questions and being in conversation for so long.
No, I'm okay. I'm chilling right now.
All right. So being that we have so many questions in place, rather than go in order, I'm going to do random. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. Next person. Devotion asks on the topic of other projects in terms of stuff like voice acting, directing, screenwriting, what's the thing you're most looking forward to? What's your next big project?
I mean, I can't say some stuff right now,
big stuff.
But if I were to say what my biggest excitement is for, my dream is to one day direct a movie. That is my dream. I think about it every single day. Like I would kill it. Like I would love it and I would do it so well. That's just like my grown-up lady dream. Like when I'm by 50, hopefully.
Hell yeah.
That would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome.
All right. Next question. Okay, you got the double whammy, Devotion. Is there anything streamers can or should consider doing in order to reduce their reliance on Twitch as their primary source of income?
Always try to make money in other places and get good at budgeting and saving money, because when you're a streamer, you might be broke for a month. You know, you want to have your little depression month, Bella? Well, looks like you're eating beans for a month. And you gotta be careful, you know? Like some months I'm like, oh my God, thank God I have paychecks so that I can survive. But you really gotta be smart. And I think it's so good to try other things, you know? Try YouTube. Unluckily, they don't want to monetize me because I'm too gross. You know, get an agent, get brand deals, reach out, try to find other avenues of work. You know, even selling my paintings, as stupid as that may sound, like still $120 a painting, that's dope. You know, like
dope.
that helps me and it makes me feel good because I gave somebody something.
It's a tangible thing. Yeah,
you can do creative things like that on stream, like, you know, because it's not just a painting, it's a painting from somebody they watch, you know, so it's like, it's special. And you could, you know, I think art is really fun, selling merch, doing other things, but even if you got like a normie job on the side, like who cares, you know, like sometimes I'm like, man, like I always have this dream where I work at a hotel. I don't want to do it during COVID, but I've always wanted to work at a hotel as maid. Like, I don't know why, I just want to clean rooms. And one day I might just work at hotels, and then I'll have fucking dope ass stories for when I stream.
There you go.
You know, it's like who cares? I don't like people looking at like jobs like, oh, you have that job, like that's not fancy. You're not a creator. Fuck you.
Fuck
you know,
you,
jobs are cool because jobs give you stories, and stories are great.
More important than that, stories, they also give you experience.
Yeah, you get life experience out of everything you do.
You think like I started doing talk shows because I didn't have any experience prior to doing this shit? Like literally 10 years of retail. Like talking to people, like
I'm so sorry.
Hundreds of people a day.
10 years of retail.
Yeah, long time. Long fucking time. Yeah, I worked at Best Buy for like 3.5 years and then like
Holy
a bunch of other places like after that, and it was just like place after place after place, just like grueling terribleness. But I did get trained at a very like I had a retail place that like trained me not like a employee but like a human being, which was really refreshing. I was like, wow, why didn't anybody else like give me these skills or talk to me in this way about conversation or talking to people like related to products or whatever. And it helped me with literally everything. That framework for like how to give feedback and have good conversations with people regardless of like whether or not they're buying anything. Like that was just standard things that I could have had that I should have had as like a teenager, because it would have allowed me to communicate with my peers more effectively and like everything. So yeah, it's experience that
it really is.
Those skills translate into everything else. Yeah, 3 years at Best Buy, I definitely have seen some shit. Yeah, for sure. Let's see what else we got in this queue here. All right, Zgar, the real Zgar.
Oh, Zgar.
On the topic of synesthesia, as someone who is chromesthetic myself, would you say that your synesthesia helps you your creative process in being able to create a broader association between things? Wow, that's a great question.
Absolutely. I am constantly seeing images and shapes and pictures in my head. And a lot of times when I'm having conversations, I will be talking about something, but then I get an image in my head and everything's tied together. I could see like in my mind, like a red box or something, and that reminds me of a red box at a table at a place I worked at, and then I'm like, oh guys, I worked at this place. Everything is like tied together, and like constantly having like stimulus in my mind, like it's like pictures, it's like, and it's like looping images sometimes, so like imagine GIFs that of nonsense just playing in my head all the time, you know. I think that helps my consciousness because I don't know, I think it does just push me in directions sometimes, in my moods and stuff, and the things I see sometimes steer what I want to talk about. So yeah, I think it does help me, and I kind of want to like incorporate that into my paintings. You know, I've wanted to paint some of the things that I see in my mind. I just worry about not being good enough at painting to do it, but you know, it'd be fun.
I would love to see that. I think like anytime you can relate that, regardless of how good it is, like that is probably the most like physically tangible thing as somebody who doesn't have synesthesia. Like you creating that piece of art and then explaining the significance of it would be like a whole nother dimension of me understanding it. And I mean, you're literally presenting us, you know, like what you're visually seeing, and it's so like that is so alien to me. I can't even envision it, but like you doing it, like creating a tangible object with it, and people would totally fucking buy that shit. I would be interested in that art. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is crazy. Like this is from, you know, somebody who's an artist who has synesthesia, and this painting means blah blah blah. Like that's a whole nother dimension to like that artwork. You should totally do that.
Yeah, it's weird because I have images in my head every day, and a lot of times they correlate to the mood I'm in or whatever. And like yesterday I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I was like, you know, today I am, and the picture was, you know, those like things in the ocean that have trash, I don't know what they're called, like barges. A landfill cargo thing.
Barges. Yeah,
those things with trash in the ocean. So imagine one of those, but it's like a million cardboard boxes, and the cardboard boxes are lavender and blue, but really faded, and they're just filled and filled and filled with gray buttons. And this like whole thing is in the ocean, but the ocean is like this gray sludge, you know. This image, they just appear in my head every day, you know. So yesterday I was the landfill full of these boxes full of buttons in this sludge, you know. And I don't know what it means. It doesn't mean anything. It's just an image, you know, but I have those every single day, you know. So it's like, why not try to paint it? Or why not try to,
that sounds interesting as fuck. That sounds so cool. Like that's, yeah, I mean, to you it's like an everyday occurrence, so you're sort of like used to it, right? So but you being able to like show that's, I don't know, that's really interesting. I would love to see that. You should totally do that.
Yeah, I should.
Let's see what we got here. This one is from Acerbis AP. Do you have a moment of failure that you think helped your growth as a person, a streamer? I guess you could take with that what you will. I would say person. That's since we've been talking about human stuff the whole time.
I've had so many failures that have helped me. And I think the biggest ones were losing friends. Wow. You know, losing somebody that I really cared about because I was selfish, you know. All those moments have led me to, you know, grow, you know, because it's like, if I don't change, I'm going to keep having the same results over and over and over and over and over again over. And I don't want to be that. I want to be a friend that people want to have around. I don't want to be a friend that somebody wants to abandon or hates, you know, and I can only do my best, you know, and like some people will abandon you anyways because they just don't like you or whatever, but I want to try my best as a person. And
you know?
Yeah. I've definitely made a lot of mistakes in like the beginning of college, end of high school. Yeah. That was my struggle years.
Well, I think like the struggle years are really important because a lot of that stuff is you're just kind of swimming through like the unknown, the ambiguity. Like you haven't had the experience of those interactions or social situations before. So it's easy to like look at those things and be like, you fucking idiot, you should have knew these things. But it's like you wouldn't have known them had you not gone through that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so easy to like judge yourself from a past behavior and be like, you should have known better. It's like you didn't. You know, you had to go through the bullshit.
I had to learn, you know, you have to learn by going through some painful shit like that. the most painful shit in your life is the stuff you're gonna learn the most from.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks, but that's how it is. And we all go through it.
And sometimes you need help, like, you know, unpacking that shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we still got some more questions. Let's see who I got here. It's weird. It keeps. Oh, never mind. It was Devotion again. Lots of good questions coming from Devotion. Is there anything any of your viewers have said that has shocked you, but in a good way? Kind words, positive comments, positive specific feedback, etc.
Dude, literally every day. Like, there are so many times where I just am in a horrible, because my brain is very mean to me. And I read a message that's so nice that I cannot even believe it. You know, I'll get a message like, hey, you know, I've been having the most depressing week and I just found your channel and I can't stop laughing. Or you know, when people tell me how much they're laughing and how much they're enjoying my content, it's like all those feelings in the back of my mind just like go away. I'm just like, this is why I'm doing this, you know, because I'm helping people, or I'm making people feel better, or I'm, you know, like, I love entertaining people. Like, that is the thing that I want to do. I don't know what way I want to do it yet in this world, but I want to entertain people. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people feel things. And the fact that I can even affect somebody's life, you know, like, some people, they'll message me and they'll be like, hey, I watched a stream like a year ago and you said this thing and me and my wife quote it like every day, you know, it's like our inside joke meme or whatever. And it's something I don't even remember because I say so much and they're like quoting a little song I did or something.
Yeah.
And it just makes, it's like, holy shit, like, I'm an inside joke in your life, you know. That's so funny to me. That's such an honor, you know, to impact somebody in any way is such, I feel so lucky, you know. And so many things people have said, I'm shocked all the time, you know. There's always moments where I'm like, well, the last person who could ever enjoy my stream has already found me. But that's not true, you know. More people will always find you. You just have this idea that, like, you know, I'm done. This is it. This is my limit. But there's always more people that are going to find you and love you and, like, really resonate with your content and stuff. And I love that feeling.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I do. Yeah. You're is it, I don't know if it's a follower alert or sub alert, but like my son.
Yeah, my sub.
Yeah, I love saying that. That's like you have a lot of things that speak to my like the parts of my brain that like just glow up when like a thing musically or it has like the perfect like amount of like in it. It's that's like how I would explain it. So yeah, totally agree with that. Anthony has another question. Says, do you think the things we see in our head/minds are signs for something larger?
You know, you know, I know he asked that after the synesthesia stuff. I don't think it means anything, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe it does. I don't know. Why is my brain creating these images? I have no idea. I think I like to think they're just random because it makes me feel good that it's just, you know, we can attach meaning to anything. If we really wanted, we could, because sometimes it feels good to attach meaning to something. But, you know, I could look at this image in my mind of like these whatever, you know, trash things or whatever, and I could say, oh, it's because I feel like I'm in the dumps or whatever. But I also just like the idea it's just images, you know. Our brains are so weird that we just come up with shit all the time, you know. Coincidences are more common than we think.
Yeah, I would say that's a good answer for that, for sure. It's also a healthy way to look at it too, because then you can kind of get lost in like trying to find meaning in the things that like maybe don't make sense to you, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Our next question comes from OA Gamer 28. Have you had any days where creativity has or was hard, and how did you find motivation related to it?
Yeah, I feel that all the time. It's hard to be creative all the time, you know, because sometimes our brain is like trying so hard. Like, I'm like, be funny, be funny, be funny. It's like you can't just scream at yourself to be funny or creative. You know, you can't always be on. You can't always make something hilarious. Not every joke is going to be perfect. But I think I just get through it by just, you know, for me, if I'm feeling like I'm not creative, I'm not even joking you. I watch shows, movies, read books, and I'm not even joking, I love watching trash fucking TV. I think trash TV is so funny because, like, reality shows with these weird ass people that are just ridiculous. Like, I watch 90 Day Fiance, Love is Blind, all these shows with these ridiculous people, and it's them. Like, they're actually, and for me, they're characters in my mind. Like, I watch these shows and I build characters on my stream off of these insane people in reality shows. Like, I think I always tell people, like, get high and watch trash TV. You will come up with a fucking good ass idea. Bachelor shows, Jersey, all those shows, because these people are insane and they're actually like that. And like you could tell they just want to be famous on TV, so they say this crazy shit. So if you're watching reality TV and like more of an observation, like, why are humans like this? This is so ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I think it always sparks creativity in me. Like, just
I was gonna say,
just all this weird type of content. Just take it in.
Now that you say that, it does make a lot more sense too, because like I always felt like you did like the posh, like I'm a man, like the voices you do, like for either whether you're doing like female, male voice, whatever. Like you always do like the most extreme version of that, and I'm like, that's 90 Day Fiance. That makes perfect sense.
Yes,
like
it's absolutely 90 Day Fiance. Those motherfuckers are so funny. I quote their shit all the time.
It's perfect. Yeah. Even if it's not even a direct quote, I'm sure like it draws the inspiration to say the outlandish shit that you do, like in the voice you did, because it's like that's their caricature, you know.
Yeah, I just imagine that personality of like this ridiculous man or woman that just I cannot believe is a real person. And you know, that kind of stuff. I think it's really important to observe everything. I'm a max observer of everything. When I go to the grocery store, when I go, you know, people, they walk on the street, they don't make eye contact. I look at everyone. I look at everything. I'm looking at everything because every person, like I look and I'm like, what is he buying? I look in their cart and I'm like, he's buying that because he lives alone and whatever. Like, just create things in your mind, you know. Imagination is number one. Always imagine things, always create things, always think of something new or the details, you know. It's not just a beer in his cart, it's a Miller Lite, you know. What is Miller Lite? Is so, you know, like those kinds of things always draw inspiration and creativity, and I think it's really important. And that's why you should go outside and live and do stuff, you know, because you need to observe people and look at people if you want to, you know, really spark some creativity.
Agreed. For sure. Those outside experiences and just like being able to like draw inspiration from those experiences, like, and see them in other things and other people, like that's super important. I feel like if you don't have any experience to draw from, everything kind of gets like becomes moot. Is that the word? Like it's not as vibrant or understood. I'm blurry, I guess. Okay. So that's it for questions. This is our very, very last one, and this one I feel like was asked, so Kishan, this may be like a VOD rewatch, but I'll let Bella decide if she wants to chalk it up to that. This question is: are there any key parts of your life that made you who you are as a person? And we kind of went through that, so entirely up to you. If you wanna.
I mean, key parts that made me, I mean, there's a lot, you know, but when I really think, like, the immediate answer for me when you ask that is I think about my sister a lot, because I just loved her so much, and she was so strange, you know. She would always tell me that there was a secret laboratory under our backyard and that she could only access it that when it wasn't there, you know. And I eventually figured out that it wasn't real, and I wanted it to be real, but then I realized, who cares if it's real or not? Who cares if anything is real or not, you know? And I would just play these stupid games and have these stupid imaginative things, and I just never let go of that. And I think that
it's beautiful in a way,
that you should never let go of that inner child. Truly, like, throw all that embarrassment and dignity out the window, you know, and just imagine stuff and be creative. And I really hope that people look into that. What made you, because, you know, I always think like, are the best parts of my life over? I didn't appreciate being a child enough. You know, I didn't appreciate these camping trips and these wonderful experiences and memories that you have, and that willingness to play pretend. And you never have to stop, you know. You never have to stop doing that stuff. You know, it's fun to be a kid, even if you're 25. Almost 26.
I agree. No, I agree. I actually had this experience like recently, and it was in a sensory deprivation tank. So like normally you're like sitting there and you're just like letting things happen, but like I started, because when you sit down in the water, like the water starts to like move around, and so you kind of like move around in the tank, and like you'll bump into the wall and stuff like slowly. And I started like pushing off the wall with my fingers and my toes like ever so slightly. And I started moving and just like going around the wall, like ricocheting between the walls. And then I found myself just like smiling. And I was like, oh, I remember this. And I was like relating it back to when I was a kid, where like I would go back and forth in the bathtub just to make big fucking waves. And I was like, dude, I remember this feeling. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, childlike wonder started to creep back in, that childhood innocence of like fun. And then I saw the thought come. And it said, Steve, what are you doing in this tank? You're supposed to be relaxing. This is supposed to be a relaxing time. And normally, because I'm in my meat suit and I'm like swept up in doing physical shit or like dealing with real life situations, I can't observe the thought. It just takes a hold of the wheel and stops me from like having the fun or indulging in that childlike wonder. And I got to address it and see it for what it was. And I was like, I'm having fun. And I just said that, and it was just so like relieving and therapeutic for me, because like I thought it was gone. You know, you think these things are gone, but they're just so easily accessed. You just need the situation, the uncomfortableness, the willingness to explore or indulge in something that is a little bit childish, and that's okay. You know, you permit yourself to have those things and really like address those things with forgiveness. You know, like don't beat yourself up because you weren't doing it for so long. It's all about like, well, you're doing it now, so keep doing it. You know, keep practicing, keep getting better at it. Find ways to, you know, find that feeling again, whether it's like in a gaming scenario or outside or wherever. Try to find the fun in those things. So cool.
Yeah, and you don't have to be good at anything you do. Just do it if you enjoy it. You know, one of my friends is one of my old professors, and he is always tells me that, like, you know, I'm like, oh, I want to paint, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And he's like, are you having fun doing it? I'm like, yeah, then fucking do it. You know, it's like, you want to make a comic, you want to write a screenplay, you want to do whatever the fuck you want. Are you enjoying it? That is the point of existence, is enjoying things. Happiness, you know, that's the ultimate goal, is to be happy, to enjoy things. So who gives a fuck? You can't even think about if it's good or bad. That's like dividing by zero. Just don't even think about it like that. It is just an art piece that you're making and you're enjoying, you know, and just holding on to that, you know, childlike wonder, I think is so important, so that you can constantly try to keep seeing the world in newer and newer and newer ways, you know, to make it feel alive again, because we get depressed too much and we gotta stop.
Agreed. That's all we have for questions. Bella, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your own experiences. Do you have any like questions for me or anything that you want to ask?
I wanted to ask what you enjoy about doing this.
About the podcast,
doing,
or
like,
just
talk
streaming?
shows and podcasts. Yeah.
Well, like for me, it kind of stems from not feeling like I could talk with anybody growing up. I came from a really hard household where like I wasn't allowed to like really be emotional or sensitive or creative without like any sort of judgment cast on it. So I withheld a lot of my own personal feelings and how I felt about anything within myself and like maybe close friend circle, but even then I was like kind of withdrawn. And so I built a mask or facade like similar to like how you were describing like a coping mechanism for or trying to like fit in, but it was like at home and at school, so I wasn't allowed to really be myself at all. And when podcasts started coming around, it was like early 2004 2003 when like the people were uploading a podcast before like iTunes was doing the thing, and I was just so taken aback by like the honesty that people were discussing things with. And of course it was a gaming podcast. We're dropping connection here. Hold on one second, everyone.
No.
Can y'all still hear us? That's what I'm really concerned about, is the audio.
Yeah, can you hear us, friends?
Hello? Y'all? Okay, we're back. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was withdrawn from from at home and in person. And so in these podcasts, it was a video game podcast, and I was just so taken aback by like how everybody was just so open and honest, not only about like games and stuff, but like with their feelings. And it was like a conversation. I was like, I've never really had one of those. And so that's where it started. And then like as soon as 2005 came around and the podcast boom happened, like there was podcast upon podcast upon podcast to listen to. And so I was like, when I was working at Best Buy and going to college, I was going to college for the wrong reasons because I was swept up in the whole mask thing. And I started having honest conversations with myself first, which was like me in the mirror. And I was really baked at the time too. I was abusing cannabis on a regular basis for like, when I say I worked at Best Buy for 3.5 years, I started working at Best Buy and then I teleported to 3.5 years later. That's how bad I was abusing it. And yeah, so like I started having honest conversations with myself, really baked, and I would just literally ask myself questions and then the answers would come because I was, inebriated essentially. And those things come easy when you're relaxed. So that's what I was trying to focus on. So I questioned everything from like my belief in like what like religion meant to me, because the word God was really taboo, to like, how am I treating my body and like my physicality, about like what the shit I'm eating and what my family is eating, like the diet and stuff. And then I started just having conversations in general around it because of the podcasting. And then it was just a genuine interest in like people's experience, because having grown up the way that I did, I never really got to know myself. So the questions that I was asking others were like questions that I would have asked myself had I been in the same situation. And there was this one particular podcast, essentially the idea of like you or me living a different life, where they mentioned that. And I was like, that's fucking so great. Because, treating people like they're yourself living a different life is like the platinum rule, the golden rule or whatever, is like, what is it? They're like, treat thy neighbor as thyself or whatever. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because your neighbor isn't you. They're completely different. Like they've had a whole bunch of different life experiences. Yeah. And so what I found after so many conversations, especially like with this new job that trained me on how to talk with people, and also weird tangent too, from I have a bachelor's degree in animation, where I was just an average art student, like learning how to use stuff. I learned how body language worked as well, because I was so unaware of that. Like taking 6 months and like animating character models where they're angry or upset or impatient, like I got to see that on a microcosm level, and then I saw it in people, and then it just sort of like that plus retail plus practice of doing that over and over again, I started creating like I was able to build rapport and understand people really well in a short amount of time. And I was like, the people that I really like doing this with are like friends or people that I find interesting. So I'd be that one dude at the party who's like talking with like one person the whole night, because I just found that vibe, that like wavelength with them. And so it translated into podcast because my friend Lee, who, and I feel like this is the same thing kind of like you're talking about, where you find somebody that's in the same wavelength or like vibe. I think of it as like a gravitational pull, where like people have like similar experiences, and because of the experience they've had or the amount, if it's in any way similar, they kind of like start to go towards each other, especially if they're physically in the same space. And so me and Lee both have ADHD, and we both love space and science and stuff. And then we started talking, and then we were like, okay, well, I want to do a podcast. Like I'd love to talk about like science articles and stuff like that. And then it started as that, and then it devolved into like our own life experience, and then now I'm here. You know, like I've done a lot of conversations, a lot of podcasts, a lot of talks with people. I take, you know, viewers call in, like, and we take phone calls while we're playing like a roguelike, so I can keep my hands busy and answer questions or talk with people. So yeah, that was like my driving force, is I wanted to get to know myself, and what better way to get to know myself by getting to know others, because they're me. So weird.
So weird.
Super long.
Well, you are a really, really, really good podcaster. I've really enjoyed this. You know, I've been on like maybe 5 or 6 podcasts now, and like 4 of them were just horrible. And this is by far my favorite. You are so good at questions, and you're just great. And I really hope that you keep doing this.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You're really good.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You guys better support Konky, I swear to God. It's a wonderful channel.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're really great.
Thank you. I'm working on, just like you, I'm working on believing the things people tell me, and it's a practice, so I gotta keep like working on it, but I appreciate it so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for participating in like the Q&A. Y'all have been super wonderful. I don't have anything more left in the show. Bella, do you have anything that you want to plug? Are you going to be streaming like tomorrow, or when's your next stream?
I think tomorrow I'm streaming. Probably gonna do a nostril stream and just vibe. But yeah, nothing really to plug. Just, you know, make friends, love your friends, be good to your friends, be creative, and don't lose your inner child. That's what you need to leave with.
Wonderfully said. All right, y'all have a great night. We'll see you later. I'm sure I'll see some of you in Bella's chat, and I will. I'll catch you later, Bella. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. I'm gonna hit this transition button, and we're gonna end it. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, bye guys.